I've been after Tom for 2 years to do YouTube. True story. And finally, push came to shove. I had the camera right in front of his face. I said, "You're doing it now." And he said, "No." And actually got his friend to do it, Benjamin, just saw. Anyway, just gave a really good class here on wheatgrass and sprouts. Tom has an amazing story. I've been trying, actually 2 years trying to do it.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been missing each other.
We have said no.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, now I finally cornered Tom. Why don't you share your story about what you're doing, why you're doing raw, and all 9 yards?
Absolutely. Well, basically, 9 years ago, I had stage 4 cancer. It was a lymphoma called Hodgkin's disease. And at that time, I didn't know much about health, complementary medicine, raw or living foods. And I ate a heavy meat diet at that time, a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, alcohol, things like this. And so my health at that time was...
Let's backtrack for just a second.
Yeah.
What was your job? Didn't you work as a landscaper too?
Years ago, I
Yes.
did landscaping, yes.
And I heard there's sometimes a correlation between landscaping and Hodgkin's disease.
There is some correlation, and they believe there's some potential from the pesticides that are used, and there are some studies that show correlations with that, especially Hodgkin's.
Okay.
So anyway, getting back, at that point I didn't know much about health or nutrition and these things, so I was treated with chemotherapy at that time, and I actually did 6 months worth of chemotherapy. In that time, I was gradually gaining more information about my disease, but the medical establishment, if you will, likes to really push you into treatments, evasive treatments, and with cancer, just one thing I want a lot of people to know, most cancers, you have lots of time to make a decision, so don't feel rushed into surgery, chemo, radiation. I believe there's a Dr. McDougall that mentioned, medical doctor, that most people who have cancer will not die from that cancer for at least 10 to 15 years.
Right.
So you have time to make decisions.
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years. So
rather than the next day.
You have plenty of time to decide what you want to do. Don't be rushed into it. There are exceptions. I mean, people who have very advanced cancer, very aggressive cancers.
7 years.
Yeah, they might have a little less time, but you have time to make decisions is what I want to get across. But so what happened in that time span, I had the chemotherapy 6 months, and I became very ill after that. My immune system was highly compromised, and I wound up back into the hospital with high fevers, electrolyte balances, and other issues. And I was in the hospital for another 3 to 4 days with that. And at that time, I came out of the hospital, and I started doing more research on my disease and things I can do to help myself. And I found out that my 5-year survival rate wasn't very great after my treatment.
Wow.
And it's about, with some statistics, about 40% or less to live 5 years. So.
But the funny thing is, if you had no treatment, you would live 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's
what is that about?
So it
That's
was
pretty funny, isn't it?
absolutely.
And it's pretty scary.
It is.
With treatment, you live 5 years, 40% chance. With no treatment, you live 10 to 15 years.
And many of the treatments conventionally have lesser statistics that way with the 5-year survival rate. So at that point, having looked at that, I basically said I need to make a lot of changes in my life, and I need to figure out basically how to keep myself alive. And gradually through the years, I learned more about different complementary therapies. I learned more about the raw and the living foods, and gradually became vegetarian, then vegan. Then I got more into the raw foods, and then also now the living foods. And mostly what's advocated by the Hippocrates Health Institute is what I try to practice now. I was trained there as a health educator. And I'm also trained as a registered nurse as well, where I did actually get to work with cancer patients who were treated with conventional therapies, and I got to see some of the poor results with that. And if you are ill, you don't want to be in a hospital. I'll just let you know that right now. What you want to do is modern or allopathic medicine is good for some things, emergency medicine, emergency surgeries, things like this, and maybe an elective surgery if you really need it for pain. But as far as cancer, the results are not good at all. If you do have cancer, I strongly recommend that you look at a program similar to that of the Hippocrates Health Institute, where they advocate the raw and living foods. They do things like mind-body therapies. They have other therapies there as well that they recommend that are more natural or complementary. And these are the type of things that you should look at more strongly if you are ill with that type of disease.
Why don't you just explain what your typical day would be? You have time?
Sure. My typical
Get up in the
day,
morning, I know that.
yeah, get up, and since the body's still detoxing, I try to do juices. Normally I'll start with a green drink, maybe like a cucumber juice, yeah, or I'll add sprouts to the cucumber juice, either being sunflower, pea greens, or whatever I have on hand at that time. And the great thing about the sprouts is they're 10 to 30 times more nutritious than your most nutritious vegetables. Cheaply made at home, so it's a no-brainer to do the sprouts.
You have a whole house full of sprouts.
Well, you know, I live in a small one-bedroom, so I have a rack that I grow sprouts in and dirt, and then I have the big colanders, and they grow a ton of food for you in a small amount of space.
In a small amount of time.
In a small amount of time, and inexpensively.
And that very inexpensive, like
grow for pennies.
Grow for pennies.
Absolutely.
Like a couple $1. What's the ratio? 1 pound equals how many pounds? 1 pound of seed.
It varies on
like
the seed,
10, 15
but
pounds?
for example, like an alfalfa, you can take 1 pound of seed and you'll get 10 pounds of food. So it's
that's $5, $6 plus so average like 60 cents.
Yeah.
You can live off 60 cents a day.
It's cheap. And
that's pretty cheap, isn't it?
The great thing about the sprouts, specifically if you do wheatgrass and some of like the onion and garlic, is they're extremely anti-cancer, and they have phytochemicals, and these are the things that also are excellent for anti-cancer. And John Hopkins actually did research on broccoli sprouts, and they found that they were so highly impressed by the anti-cancer properties in broccoli sprouts, they patented broccoli sprouts for a short time until an ethical judge threw it out of the court, threw it out of court saying you can't
wasn't paid off by Monsanto, that's why.
Yeah, and so basically the two scientists that actually worked on that said that the broccoli sprouts, the phytochemicals in the broccoli sprouts were the most powerful anti-cancer agents they've ever worked with, including any type of chemotherapy or other types of drugs that they worked with.
So they also said a sugar pill is also more powerful than chemotherapy.
Placebo effect can be another large part.
No, actually more effective. Healing Cancer from the Inside Out talks about that. Okay, anything else for your lunch and dinner?
Oh yeah, then I would go on. I always try to get some wheatgrass in. I try to do 2 ounces twice a day.
Yes, 4 ounces a day.
4 ounces,
so you grow it then?
Yeah, I grow it at home. And from there I'll have a nice big salad in the day. Like my wife made a great meal yesterday. We had collard green wraps with avocado, different salads, different sprouts, onions, things like this to spice it up a little bit. You can add sea vegetables in that, because you want to get the top 3 things in your diet. You want to get the best foods on the land, which is the sprouts. Best foods from the sea vegetables. And the best foods from the lakes, that's the green and blue-green algae. And I do supplement with the algae as well.
E3 Live.
E3 Live.
A lot of people swear by that. And that's pretty much your day.
Yeah, pretty much, and I'll have a dinner, another type of salad, or like a raw pizza.
Plus you're married to a beautiful woman, can't get better than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very lucky there.
Very lucky there. And have you gone back for tests for your lymphoma? You haven't gone back?
Go back for a test. I do rare scans now. You know, they're basically the doctors will tell you need to get scanned. You know, it's a protocol every 6 months or. But the thing you have to recognize with the scans, it's radiation. So you're going to mutate more cells.
So you have radiation that causes cancer, and they recommend that you do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of Oxymoron.
Yeah.
Why don't you get a scan that causes cancer? This way, this won't prevent cancer.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Boggles my mind. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Right?